27. Mouse Tale. The story, far too old to be corroborated by anyone living, is that when the old tannery burned down, it was so infested with mice that they all ran out at once to escape the fire. The massive pack of mice raced towards the nearby Tennessee River, landing in a flood of vermin that rivaled the plagues on Egypt. And so, henceforth, and likely forevermore, the place came to be known as Mousetail Landing. In the spot where the tannery once stood is now a harvest camp so picturesque it is often the subject of watercolors painted by vacationers camping across the river. The closest thing to mice at Mousetail now are the mild-mannered boys and girls, all dressed in white, who arrive the day after their 13th birthdays. Happy children, all bright-eyed and trusting that the staff will ease them into a divided state with kindness and a reverence for the sanctity of their sacrifice. The cabins of Mousetail Divisional Academy are heated in the winter by induction floorboards and cooled in the summer by multi-zone circulation systems that keep each tithe's sleeping area at precisely the temperature the tithe prefers. Spectacular meals are supervised by a chef who once had his own TV show and served by graduates of the International Institute of Modern Butlers. Tithes are accepted to Mousetail through a rigorous and competitive application process, akin to that of the most exclusive universities. To be chosen for the academy is a source of pride for a tithe and his or her family, and to receive a mousetail transplant is something bragged about in society's highest strata. Until recently, the academy's front gate was not locked. In fact, there's a sign inside the gate in bright yellow and red that reads, "Those who finish, those who wish to leave Undivided may exit here." Yet in 14 years of operation, they've only 4 tithes who went AWOL. One of them was later found frozen in the woods. He was buried in a highly visible and well-maintained tomb in the camp, testifying to the love and care that Mousetail provides its guests, even the AWOL ones. And it also stands as a reminder to other tithes that the wage of cowardice is death. In recent weeks, by request of the juvenile authority, the gate has been locked, and the minimal security staff has been augmented by 3 additional armed guards. It's nowhere near the protection required for more likely targets of Mason Starkey's wrath, non-voluntary harvest camps, where the campers don't actually want to be there. The new security measures frighten the tithes, reminding them that there's evil out in the world, but they take comfort in knowing that it won't be coming for them. Very soon, the evil of this world will no longer be their concern. In fact, they are taught to pity the kind of ignorance that leads to violence against harvest camps. The tithes of Mousetail Divisional Academy do not know and cannot see the dark thunderheads growing to the south. It is a tempest far more devastating than they dare imagine, which threatens to end them before the scalpel can. On the night before the Stork Brigade's planned attack, the tithes take to their beds after gentle prayer and the brushing of teeth, never suspecting that judgment will soon rain upon them with ballistic intensity, unless an unexpected front moves into quiet the storm. 28. Starkey. He is abducted in the middle of the night. It's different from the time the clappers came for him. This time his attackers are of the stealth kind, rather than being from the school of brute force. They sneak up behind him instead of bludgeoning their way through the rank and file. Without a commotion to alert him, Starkey has no warning before the trank bullet pierces his thigh. Not a trank dart, which is kinder and gentler, but a full payload chemical bullet that explodes like a bug on a windshield, but only after penetrating deep into the epidermis. Trank bullets hurt like hell, even if they don't do any real damage. The pain jolts Starkey awake just long enough to register that he's been tranked. Then he's swallowed by unconsciousness once more. He's awakened sometime later by a slap to the face, a hard one, then another, because the first slap didn't quite do the job. The third slap is purely gratuitous on the part of the assailant, whoever he is. Awake yet, Stork Boy? Says a man with tousled hair and a severe expression. Or do you need another one? Go to hell, Starkey grunts out. That summons forth another slap, this one backhanded and brutal. It would sting quite a lot if he weren't still numb from the tranks. He feels blood on his face, though. The guy has a ring that cuts Starkey's cheek. Whoever you are, you're a dead man, Starkey tells him, trying not to slur his words. My storks will find you, kill you, and string you up as a warning for all the other idiots out there. Will they now? The man is amused, sure of himself. This does not bode well for Starkey, and so Starkey takes a moment to measure the situation. He's outside in the woods. It's chilly. Starkey can see only in scant grays and deep royal blues. It must be dawn. He's bound but not gagged, which means they want him to be able to talk, negotiate perhaps. His attacker, however, is very angry. Let me go and we'll pretend this never happened, Starkey suggests. He knows it won't work, but how the man responds will define Starkey's parameters. The man's response is a swift kick to Starkey's ribs, and he feels at least two of them crack. Starkey falls to the side, moaning in pain that can't be quelled by the tranks still in his system. He now knows his parameters. They're roughly the dimensions of a coffin. Don't break him, hisses a voice in the shadows. Barely a voice at all, more like the breathy rasp of a ghost. Starkey can see a figure shift, the silhouette of a shoulder, but the rest is obscured by the tree. The less he's broken, the more he's worth. The man backs off, but he doesn't seem less angry. Although he's not all that big, not all that muscular, his simmering rage makes up for it. Starkey tries not to let the pain in his side drive him toward panic. There's never been a trap he hasn't been able to get out of. He escaped from the juvie rounders who came to unwind him, and killed one of them in the process. He escaped from the graveyard even though he had to shatter his own hand to do it. The lesson? He can escape from any situation, but he must be willing to do the unthinkable. Let me kill him, says the brutal one, clearly the enforcer of the team. Let me kill him and be done with it. Stick to the plan, rasps the voice in the shadows. He's worth more to us alive. Starkey tries to calculate how far he might be from safety. The growing light confirms that it's daybreak. It took him some time during the night. He could be hours from his storks or just outside the gate of the abandoned power plant they've been calling home. The plant is on the banks of Mississippi. He tries to listen for the river, but realizes that the river moves so slowly he couldn't hear it if it were right behind you. You can smell it, though. He takes a deep whiff. The air does not have the unpleasant smell of organic decay married to chemical runoff that typifies the Mississippi. His panic begins bubbling to the surface again, and this on what should be the day of his greatest harvest camp attack. What do you want? He asks. Finally, the second assailant steps out of the shadows. There's a third one too, shorter than the other two, lingering back. He holds something in his hand, could be a weapon of some sort. While the enforcer's face is fully exposed, the other two wear black ski masks hiding their face, in wool-knit obscurity. Beg for your life, says the third assailant, with the same breathy hiss as the other masked kidnapper. I don't beg, announces Starkey, and his posturing is met with silence as his arms are tied behind his back. He has to squirm up into a sitting position. But I'm sure we can work this out. We know who you are, says the enforcer. There's a reward on your head, dead or alive. I prefer dead. Now he thinks he knows their play. They intend to turn him in for the reward, but they could have just kept him unconscious until they handed him over. They want him to make a better offer, and with the Clapper movement behind him, he has the resources to do it. Name your price, Starkey says. I pay better than the juvenile authority. The enforcer seethes. You think this is about money? We're not interested in yours, or the juvie's money either. Starkey was not expecting that. The enforcer looks to the second assailant as if for permission. Number 2, who's clearly in charge, nods. Starkey suspects that it's a woman, but the shadows are still too thick to be sure. The Burmese Daze pay more than just cash. The enforcer tells him it pays in respect and career advancement. Starkey's fear, which had just been gnawing at him, now clamps down, driving in its teeth deep. His blood literally begins to feel cold within his body, like his veins are being caressed with ice. You can't be serious, but their solemn silence proves that they are. There's the black market, and then there's the Daze. Starkey tries to swallow, but finds his throat too dry. Okay, we can work this out. You don't need to do this. We can work this out. Maybe he does beg after all. Too late for that, snaps the enforcer. No, rasps the whisperer. Let him talk. Starkey knows this will be the greatest escape act of his life, if he can pull it off. I can supply you, he says. We don't need supplies, says the enforcer. That's not what I mean. If you free me, I can supply you with unwinds to sell to Daze. They're AWOL storks, marked for unwinding, so no one will miss them. Imagine that, a constant supply. And not just any kids. I'll give you the cream of the crop, the strongest, the healthiest, the smartest. I'll keep you flush for a long, long, long time, and get you that respect that you were talking about. They just stare at him for a moment, and then the enforcer says, You would do that? Sacrifice the other storks to save yourself? Starkey nods without hesitation. What you don't understand is that they need me. They need me more than they need each other. Again, weighty silence as they consider it. Starkey wishes he could see their eyes better. He wishes they could see the expression of the other two behind their ski masks. How many will you give us? The whisperer asks, her voice still a toneless rasp. How many do you need? Starkey forces a smile. 10%? Like a tithing? That's right. They'll be like tithes. Starkey knows he's getting somewhere. As for the logistics, those can be worked out later. The consequences of this escape can be dealt with. The aftermath is always manageable. All that matters in the moment is the escape itself. How could you do that to them? Says the third one, and his whisper breaks, a bit of roundness coming into his timbre. In the back of Starkey's mind, that voice is familiar, but it's so far back in his mind he doesn't register it yet. I can do it because it's the right thing to do, Starkey insists. The idea of a war is more important than any of its warriors, and I am the idea. He looks away. I don't expect you to understand that. And suddenly, the whispering woman isn't whispering anymore. We understand a lot more than you think, Starkey realizes who she is the moment before she removes her ski mask. Bam! She turns to the third attacker. Are we good, Jivan? Jivan removes his mask as well, then fiddles with the small object in his hand. Yeah, we're good. As the betrayal takes hold in his mind, Starkey finds his fear replaced by fury. He struggles against his bonds. He can escape from the ropes, but it will take time. He doesn't have time. He wants to tear free now so he can tear them all apart. He should die now, announces the enforcer, who now paces in the background. If I still had my garden shears, I'd stab them through my heart. I'd stab them through his heart right now. But apparently no one present has either the guts or the inclination to end his life. It's their weakness that will save him. There's been enough killing, Bam says. Go wait for us in the car. We'll be there in a minute. Who the hell is that clown? Starkey asks. That clown is the head gardener at Horse Creek Harvest Camp, Jivan tells him. You blew up his wife last week. You're lucky he didn't blow your brains out just now. Starkey turns to Bam, realizing that this is still a negotiation, just a very different one. Bam, let's talk about this. You've made your point, so let's talk. I'll talk, she says, and you'll listen. She's calm, too. Too calm for Starkey's taste. He much preferred when her anger was out of control. That anger was malleable. It can be shaped any way Starkey wants. But this cool calm is like Teflon. He knows anything he says will slide right off it. You're going to disappear, Mason, she tells him. I don't care where you go, but you're going to perform a total vanishing act. You will not kill the tithes at Mousetail. You will never attack another harvest camp. You'll never fight for another cause, and most of all, you'll stay far away from the Stork Brigade, and from now until the end of time, or at least until the end of your miserable life. Starkey glares at her. And why would I do that? This is why, and she turns to Jivan, who fiddles with the device in her hand that Starkey had mistaken for a weapon. It's not a weapon at all. It's a small recording device. Jivan hits a button and it projects a hologram, a miniaturized version of the spot they stand in high definition, just as clear as the real thing. Starkey watches himself say, "If you free me, I can supply you with unwinds to sell to the Daze. They're AWOL storks marked for unwinding, so no one will miss him." Starkey finds he can't contain his anger. He thrashes, making his broken ribs resonate in pain. He practically dislocates his shoulders trying to pull out of the bonds. "You bitch! You made me say that. You made me make the deal." And yet Ban holds her Teflon calm. "No one made you do anything, Mason. We just gave you the rope, and you're the one who hanged yourself with it." Jivan laughs at that. "Good one," he says. "Hanged himself." If you ever surface again anywhere," Bam says, "we'll play that recording for the storks. Not just our storks, but publicly for every stork out there. You'll go from being their savior to being seen as the self-serving egomaniac that you are." "Self-serving? I did this all for them. All of it." Starkey would kill them right now if he could. The traitors. He would execute them without the slightest hesitation. Can't they see what they're doing? They're killing a dream larger than all of them. How can storks ever hope to change their plight in the world without their leader? He wants to scream with a wordless fury, but knows he must try his as best he can to match Bam's detachment. He forces down his anger and says, "It's the small minds in this world that destroy everything. Don't be a small mind, Bam. You're smarter than that. You're better than that." Bam smiles, and Starkey thinks maybe she's finally beginning to see the wisdom of his words, until she says, "You're so smooth, Mason. You can slide your way into getting what you want, and then convince everyone around you that it's what they want too. That was your best magic trick. You made everyone believe you were doing this for them, when it was all for the fame and fortune of Mason Michael Starkey. That's not true. See how good the illusion is," Bam says. "Even you believe it." Starkey will not entertain this accusation. He cannot doubt himself, because doubt is his enemy. So he'll let Bam go on with her mindless lecture. Let her think what she wants to think. She's just jealous that she can never be him or have him, or be in the same league as him. He is Mason Michael Starkey, the Avenger of Storks. No matter how hard Bam tries to take that away, the world will reward him for all the good he's done. He didn't do it for the fame, but he certainly deserves it. "I'll never be a great leader," Bam tells him, "but knowing that already makes me a better leader than you. I just wish I could have figured that out sooner." Starkey is exhausted, struggling against his bonds. They're looser now. He will escape. Not at this moment, but soon. 10 minutes, 20. The question is, will he go after Bam and Jivan, or will he cave to their blackmail and go into hiding forever? "You've heard our demands, and you know what will happen if you don't follow them," Bam says. "On the other hand, if you get with the program, we'll keep that recording to ourselves. I know how important it is for you to be seen as the hero. You get to keep that. It's more than you deserve. We'll tell the storks you were captured while scouting out Masstail, and that will make you an instant martyr. What could be better?" Mason has no strength to argue anymore. He feels sick to his stomach, and he knows that it's not just from the tranks. "Someone's going to make you pay for this. Maybe, but it won't be you." Then she turns to Jivan, who pulls out a trank gun, one of the nice ones the clappers provided. Probably the same one they tranked him with the first time. "We can't take a chance you'll break free too soon," Bam tells him, "and once you do free yourself, if you're tempted to look for us at the power plant, don't bother. We'll all be gone from there long before you wake up." Jivan comes close to Starkey, aims but doesn't shoot just yet. Instead, he suddenly spits in Starkey's face. "That's for all the people who died because of me," says Jivan. "The people who died because of..." "Died because of the things you made me do." Starkey smiles at him and repeats what Bam just said a few moments ago. "I didn't make you do anything, Jivan. I just gave you the rope. Jivon's response is a trank blast right into the space between his broken ribs.